This morning we begin with the words of Tanya Marquez. It is now when we are called to witness the world, to mend it, to change its course, to restore it. It is now when we are called to act on our values, not to hide, not to fear, but to be bold and loud. It is now that we are called to continue our fight for justice, to organize, to speak up. It is now. Let us gather. Let us give each other courage. Let us worship. I invite you to join me, to rise and join me in singing our opening hymn, We Shall Be Known. It's a song we've sung a few times, and I think y'all know it pretty well. So please rise in body or in spirit. If you don't know it, it's a little. We'll sing it through a few times so you can pick it up. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the web. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the web. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. And I invite you to remain risen as we light our chalice this morning, symbol of Unitarian Universalism.
Do you want me to read them? Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life.
And now I invite you to join in saying our covenant words together, first in English and then in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, Thus do we covenant. La doctrina de esta iglesia es el amor. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Este es nuestro pacto.
Let us remember the land we are located on and live from is the traditional land of the Tongva, Kizh, Chumash, and Tatavian peoples, past and present. Let us honor the land itself and the people who have stewarded it across generations, that we might learn to become better stewards ourselves. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Tracy Watson. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm happy to serve as your worship associate today. Emerson is a progressive spiritual community with a long history of serving the West Valley. It is a place where we can come together with the goal of living our deepest values, such as justice and inclusion for all, to the greatest extent we can. None of us has all the answers, and so we continue to work toward finding meaning together, talk about life's big questions, and ask ourselves how we can work together to make a difference. Our worship theme for August is activism. In particular, activism as a means to repair the world through social justice. This is a pretty tall order and may seem overwhelming. We don't want to give up our own small, simple comforts. Is it ever enough to join a protest, write a letter, boycott a product, support a local food pantry, improve an underfunded school playground or library, or make a friendly gesture to someone who feels unseen, or voice an objection to unfair treatment rather than stand by in silence? Dare we hope that enough of these small steps are what will bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. Edward Everett Hale wrote, "I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something I can do." Good advice. It's good to see those of you who are here in person, and we want to extend a warm welcome to those of you joining us online as well. I want to extend a special welcome to those of you who are new here. If you didn't have a chance to sign the guest book, we invite you to do so in the foyer or by following the link in the chat. We also have our Inquirers series today, where you can learn more about Unitarian Universalist history. That will be shortly after the service at 12 o'clock. Which you can attend in the minister's office or on Zoom. Also, after the service, everyone is welcome to join us for our coffee hour in the pavilion on the other side of the doors to my right. And those of you on Zoom can stick around for our virtual coffee hour. In a moment, I'm going to invite us to greet our neighbors. If you have a joy or sorrow that you would like shared aloud with the congregation later in our service, you can take this time to write it in our Book of Life located on the table behind the piano. Let us now greet our neighbors in the spirit of welcome.
It is good to be together this morning. I am the Reverend Matthew McHale. My pronouns are he and him, and it is my pleasure to serve this congregation as its minister. So today we're going to do something we haven't done before. So what will hopefully be a new ritual and tradition connected to the start of the school year. A blessing of the backpacks and bags. And so we carry bags with us throughout the week for many reasons. And if you have a bag with you and you want to have it blessed, you can bring it forward or send it forward with a helper or lift up your bag when you hear me describe you. So I'm going to describe a few different types of bags that we carry. So again, you can come forward or send your bag forward with a helper or just raise it up from your chair if that feels good to you. Some of us, and I've got my bag here too. Some of us take books and homework to school. So if that describes you, you can come on up. And you can have imaginary backpacks are good too. Metaphorical backpacks. Some of us bring our lunches to school or to work. Some of us take computers and other supplies to the place where we work. Some kids carry overnight bags from one parent's house to the other parent's house and back again. Some people bring things like books or yarn and knitting needles to places where they might need to wait patiently. And some people even have special bags for their dogs and other animals. So, let me just step out. So are your bags already full of things? Are your metaphorical bags already full of things? Yes? Full? Are they full, like totally full? Anyone got some space in their bags? Yeah, got some space in your bags? So do you imagine that it might get full one day? Maybe, like that you can't fill anything up? So for this blessing today, we're going to add something to your bag. So if it's zipped, you may need to unzip it or closed. And don't worry, what we're going to add to your bag isn't going to add any weight today. And it won't take up any room. So would any of you like to have some of our congregation's love to take with you as you go to school or to work or on your travels? Yes. If you feel love here on Sundays, wouldn't you like to know that our love is with you on those other days? So let's do that. So let's bundle up some of the love wherever you're storing it. So I don't know, is it in your pockets? Where's that love that you're holding? And just take it, and I want you to bundle it up. Just bundle it up. I want to see you bundling up this love. Pull it from wherever you need to, and just and put it together, and make a nice little pillow of love. And so, are you ready? Now those of you with bags, so make sure they're open to catch that love. And now we're going to toss our little bag. So go ahead and toss your ball of love into someone's bag. Go ahead and toss it in. Oh, I saw some great tosses going on there. Just like, I'm amazed that you were able to sink that shot from like 30 feet away. So now let's add some more to your bags. And sometimes we get nervous when we go to school or to work, and sometimes we wish we felt braver. And so I think it would be nice to know that our courage is with you on the other days when you need it. And so again, let's pull out some courage from wherever that courage is for you, and just and put it together into a bundle, and just toss it towards someone's bag. Make sure you're holding your bag open, those of you who do have bags. I love that people who have bags are also throwing theirs to other people. That's great. And we're going to throw some, I forgot, we may have some digital love and courage that we need to throw into the ether. So let's do that for those people who are joining us on Zoom as well. And it can go, it's all directions, so every direction is perfect. And so, is there something else that you wish you could have that you could take with you? Money. How about something we can, I love it, but how about something we can pull from our heart supply? Yes, what? Memories. Okay, great. Memories. And let's pull together a few things. So memories, is there anything else someone would love to have in their bag to take with them? Resilience. Okay. So anything else? Hope and kindness. I love it. So patience. So let's take all of those, resilience and hope and memories and patience and kindness, and pull them from wherever they live in you. Just pull them out and put them into a nice ball, and just go ahead and toss them into the bags of someone so they can take it with them. Man, y'all are such great tossers. I love it. Now, your bag, after we've done this, may not look or feel any different, but the next time you use your bag, I hope you'll remember that we've added our blessings. Remember that the Spirit of life is with you in school or at work, that this congregation cares about what happens to you at school or at work. And if you need more love or courage, then you can ask us for more. All right. Thanks, everyone, for participating. That was fun. So now I invite you to join me in saying our unison affirmation together. And if you know the hand signals, or they're easy to pick up, you can go ahead and do them with me. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands.
Sharing the Plate, Communities for a Better Environment. This month, we are sharing the plate with the Communities for a Better Environment. Their mission is to build people's power in California's communities of color and low-income communities to achieve environmental health and justice by preventing and reducing pollution and building green, healthy, and sustainable communities and environments. Communities for a Better Environment provides residents in heavily polluted urban areas in California with organizing skills, leadership training, and legal, scientific, and technical assistance so that they can successfully confront threats to their health and well-being. Donations can be made at donateemerson.org or using the Breeze CHMS mobile app and selecting Sunday Offering. If you're writing a check, please make checks payable to Emerson UU Church and write Share the Plate in the memo. If you would like to make a payment on a pledge, please write Pledge in the memo instead. Our offerings will now be gratefully received.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Each week we take time in our service to lift up those joys and sorrows from within our community and in the wider world. This week, in our book of life, Jeremy writes, "Feeling so incredibly blessed and grateful to officially be Lucas's fiance as of last week. I, of course, said yes. I'm sorry. I, of course, said yes." Katie and Evan write, "So proud of my nephew who graduated to become a Marine on Friday. Happy to be back with him and family. Thankful to have my sister here visiting too." Lucas writes, "It's a beautiful day to be amongst you, our family. Live to love, love to live. Life is beautiful." And unsigned, "I have a spouse with dementia. Please pray for his health." And a follow-up note, "I am the spouse with dementia. Please pray for me." And let me check our virtual book of life. Nancy Watanabe in our virtual book of life writes, "Glad that my friends Barbara Quimby and John Singer were able to flee Lahaina and have now been located." And so, of course, our hearts too go out to those who have been touched by the wildfire in Hawaii, whose lives have been devastated or whose lives have been lost in Hawaii, particularly Lahaina, where almost 100 people so far, and that number is sure to rise, have already died, making this the deadliest fire in the United States in over 100 years. And just to put it in perspective, that is close to 1% of the population of Lahaina, as we imagine the loss there. And also one more, Greg Biesing shared that last week Margaret Shively passed away. Some of you may know Margaret. She was one of the last remaining founders of the West Valley Food Pantry, who helped found it while it was still just a small project of the Prince of Peace, where she was a member. And she was, I believe, 95 when she passed away. Now, in a moment, I'm going to sound this singing bowl, and after I do, I invite you to speak into this space. any joys or sorrows, any names or occasions that are on your heart this morning, that you would like lifted up into this congregation. If you are online, you can go ahead and post those in the chat as we offer these into the embrace of this beloved community. All that has been shared and all that we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, we offer these into the embrace of this beloved community. I now invite you to join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer as I offer these words from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who, with faith, stand and lead in freedom, with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage, or tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the water while their voices sing and speak refreshed worlds. There must be those whose exuberance rises with lovely energy that articulates earth's joys. There must be those who are restless for respectful and loving companionship among human beings, whose presence invites people to be themselves without fear. There must be those who gather with the congregation of remembrance and compassion, draw water from old wells, and walk the simple path of love for neighbor. And there must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God or goddess or divine energy, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, transform, and bless life. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. I invite you to join me in singing Open My Heart. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
This reading is called Visitors in the Struggle for Racial Justice by Aisha and Sano. No matter what tactics and methods racial justice activists use, the general response of society will be a collective head shaking and tisk-tisking, because what people are actually complaining about are not the specific tactics that are being used in the struggle for racial justice, but that the struggle for racial justice exists at all. I imagine that for some people, most people, the immediate reaction to that statement is defensiveness. I really don't think that the struggle for racial justice shouldn't exist, some might respond. I just think there are better ways to go about it than blocking traffic and making me late for work. I get annoyed and frustrated, and it really doesn't convince me to join the fight. What exactly is going to convince that person to join the fight? Picket signs on the side of the road? Then they'll just think, look at those troublemakers disturbing the peace over there as they drive on their way to work. Then they'll promptly forget about it. It's not the specific methods that are making people uncomfortable. It's the fact that the struggle for racial justice is seeping into their awareness in ways they can't ignore. Think about it in terms of this metaphor. You're visiting a foreign country where the customs are very different from what you are used to, and the language is different, and some of the things they do are not only different, but make you feel deeply uncomfortable. As a guest in that country, it is not for you to say that things that people who live there are doing are wrong. Instead, your role is to learn, to pay attention, and try to understand how things work, and to adapt. But if you do something that goes against their norms, it's also your role as a guest to not insist that they let you do things however you want to do them. It is your role as a guest to pause and consider what you're doing. White people tend to be visitors to the struggle for racial justice, ones that aren't forced to be there, but can choose to come in and leave whenever they like. People of color reside in the struggle for racial justice by virtue of their race. As people who are constantly in the struggle, people of color have the right to make claims on what they find okay and not okay, what they see as helpful and not helpful.
I invite you to rise in body, or actually, I'm going to teach you the song first, and then I'll invite you to rise. So this is a song, Where You Go, I Will Go. And so it's not too hard. It's a little, it repeats itself. So it goes like this. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Let's try that. Sorry. So the way I heard this, I love having the music in, and it's throwing me off because I'm like trying to teach this like I know it a cappella. So I'm going to just sing that part again. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Now sing. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Please rise. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. Where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. One more time. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Please be seated. Sorry, I should sing that. Boy, all right. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. I sing as the police tighten the zip ties around my wrists. It was the third straight night of protests in Berkeley against racial injustice and police brutality following the failure to charge the police officers who murdered Michael Brown and Eric Garner back in 2014. Earlier that night, about 50 students and faculty from the Graduate Theological Union gathered at my seminary, Star King School for the Ministry, to be trained as chaplains for the ongoing protests after a Unitarian Universalist seminarian was hit in the head with a police baton during the protests 2 nights earlier. Marching with the other chaplains, we sang Sweet Honey in the Rocks, Ella's song named for Ella Fitzgerald. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Those lyrics captured the essence of what brought me out there that night. Believing in justice and equity and the inherent worth and dignity of every person means that when the justice system does not operate out of those same principles, then I must do my part to change the system. That's why over 2,000 protesters were in the streets that day, where shouts of "no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace" could often be heard. And hundreds of protesters peacefully shut down the busiest freeway in the San Francisco Bay Area for several hours. That's why many drivers, despite the inconvenience, honk their horns, offering the protesters water and high fives in support. And I know there were people sitting in their cars who were pissed off too, people who might have been thinking, "I agree with your cause, but not in the way you go about it." Or again, a couple weeks later, when protesters, including my then girlfriend, Anna, that's her on the left, and one of my housemates standing next to her, and several friends as well, chained themselves to the doors of a police station in Oakland in protest. And another person climbed up a flagpole and flew a Black Lives Matter flag. I should note that this action was also designed as an action where groups of white people and Asian people were the ones risking arrest, and not Black activists who were leading the public protests, as a show of solidarity and support. I would have been there with them had I not been recently arrested and facing charges that were thankfully eventually dropped for the inconvenience of shutting down the freeway. And people were pissed off again too in 2020 in the massive protests in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many more names, a list too long to list and which continues to grow. And so much coverage and discussion of those protests was about whether the tactics were appropriate, focusing, of course, only on the small percentage of protests and protesters who engaged in property destruction, and not in the countless peaceful but disruptive protests. And thereby, by focusing on the nature of the protests, we're able to avoid addressing the injustices of systemic racism and police brutality that people were protesting. More than 50 years earlier, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in his famous letter from a Birmingham jail in response to 8 white clergy members who had written a letter expressing their concern and caution about the tactics of civil rights activists' nonviolent protests. He writes, "You deplore the demonstrations that are presently taking place in Birmingham, but I am sorry that your statement did not express a similar concern for the conditions that brought the demonstrations into being. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white Citizens Council or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feels that he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season." Aisha Ansano's reading, which Tracy shared, which is very much in dialogue with Dr. King's letter, pointed out that there is no right way to do it. If you're too provocative, too disruptive, people will chastise you. And if you're too polite, they will ignore you. Those two protests in 2014 they got national media coverage, but the peaceful, family-friendly protest I took my 3-year-old daughter to at a park in 2020 didn't even merit local coverage. The real problem, says Ansano, is not that the specific methods are making people uncomfortable. It's the fact that the struggle for racial justice is seeping into their awareness in ways they can't ignore. And we can see this growing and changing across this country. School boards and state legislatures are ensuring that young people can't be taught about divisive subjects like the existence of LGBTQ folks. They can't be taught about conscious bias and unconscious bias, about privilege, about discrimination and oppression, or that the U.S. has systemic racism, which also basically means that you can't effectively means that you can't teach that slavery or segregation was particularly bad. There were good, we've seen this, it's happening. People are trying to point, their curriculum that's trying to point out, well, no, it wasn't actually so bad. And in the latest example of, I can't believe that this is even a thing, when a school board in Texas was talking about preventing teachers from displaying symbols of personal ideologies earlier this week, when asked for examples of teachers doing this, one of the school board members mentioned a parent who said that their first grade student was so upset by a poster showing people of different races holding hands that they transferred classrooms. That is not an Onion headline. That happened this week. It's not the specific methods that are making people uncomfortable. It's the fact that the struggle for racial justice is seeping into their awareness in ways that they can't ignore, and they are pushing back. They want a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, but not a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. Susan Magan, whom I borrowed the title of this sermon from, writes, "We need this tension to make the positive peace. We need the tension between the power and the people. We need that tension to make positive peace. Tension is an essential ingredient when it comes to peace and justice, and when that tension is not there, when the tension is not allowed or not tolerated, or when the tension is not desirable, then there can easily be an abuse of power. Not just from law enforcement, but from Wall Street, from the military, from schools, medicine, the church. Without it, we humans can easily grow into nothing but corrupt power structures on one side, and on the other, silent suffering." You can also hear the desire for that type of oppressive and repressive negative peace in the Jason Aldean song, "Try That in a Small Town," which was briefly the #1 song in America a couple of weeks ago. I take some small glimmer of hope that the reason it was the #1 song is people were so incensed by what it was that they went to watch the video just in horror, which is, I think, demonstrated by the fact that it had one of the quickest drops from #1 down to somewhere in the 20s in 1 week. I think it was like #4 quickest drop of all time on the charts, but I'm a chart nerd, so that was a fun fact for me. Anyway. And so in this song, Aldean warns city dwellers to find out what would happen if they try things like cussing out a cop or burning the American flag in a small town, implying that they would be beat up or worse. And while the lyrics weren't great, the video took it to a whole nother level, showing footage of recent protests against racism and police brutality, while Aldean sang, "That might fly in the city, good luck. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road." With threats of violence from good old boys raised upright, intercut with footage of the band performing in front of a courthouse that was also the site of a historic lynching. It is a yearning for a negative peace enforced by the threat of violence, one where there is no tension for some, those who hold the power, the good old boys that Aldine mentions. But as long as there is injustice, there will always be tension. It may just be bubbling under the surface or held in the bodies of those who are oppressed. In the Hebrew Bible, the prophet Jeremiah says, "They have treated the wounds of my people carelessly," saying, "Peace, peace," when there is no peace. Now, the Hebrew word for peace is shalom, which also translates to wholeness and well-being. And this well-being isn't just for a few, it's a well-being for all. Shalom means harmony. And that means healing the wounds of injustice and oppression. And it's not just racial justice or LGBTQ rights. One can see this throughout our neighborhoods, our country, and our world. We see it in those who complain about striking workers, from wealthy studio executives who try to lay the blame for the economic consequences of the strikes on writers and actors who are asking for overdue raises and protections. Or the complaints about the disruptions caused by city workers' first strike in some 40 years earlier this week. Or those who complain about striking hotel workers, who are some of the most vulnerable workers in our society, making noise while they picket in the morning and disturbing the sleep of those who are staying at the hotels being picketed. And in some cases, that anger, that hostility gets turned and has been turned, particularly with hotel workers recently, into acts of violence against those striking workers. Sometimes by the employees of the hotels, security guards who have been hired as essentially enforcers, and sometimes just by guests, passerbys who feel incensed. Perhaps that they are being called out for supporting a hotel chain that doesn't treat its workers fairly. And we can also see this in regards to climate change in many different ways. Last week at the DC Open in tennis, during one of the matches, protesters unfurled a banner and started chanting about not encouraging not people to fly, that flying, because of course sports like that require a lot of flying, and so they threw flaming tennis balls, not literally flaming tennis balls, but oversized tennis balls that were covered in flames onto the court. And one of the players, after the game was over, and they were booed and eventually escorted out of the stadium, one of the players afterwards said, half jokingly, he's like, I agree with what they're saying, but they shouldn't be so disruptive. It almost makes me want to go out and fly more. And again, he said he was joking, but there is that sense of I don't want this disruption in my life. And we may have experienced that ourselves, these disruptions that happen in our lives. I know I went to go see a movie at IMAX at the Universal City Walk, and I had to drive through a picket line, and it made me uncomfortable and made me think. And I think that's helpful. And I'll be talking a little bit more about climate in a couple weeks, really kind of the extremes of that. Our Sacred Cinema film for August is the movie How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which came out earlier this year. And so that should be a fascinating, more in-depth discussion about what are the appropriate, or what is reasonable in the face of a massive crisis like that. So I hope you'll be there for that conversation. But I also want to lift up one place that I think it shows up particularly strongly here, which is around homelessness and affordable housing, which of course is a huge issue here in Los Angeles. And I know that many, if not most of us here, probably have voted for bills and measures that provided funding for housing and homeless services. And yet some of the people who have voted for that may also be the same people who show up at meetings and say, well, when this supportive housing facility is going to be built in my community, well, no, I want it, but just not in my neighborhood. I went to the public meetings a few years ago about the building that's currently being built on Topanga Canyon Boulevard up in Chatsworth, which is a supportive housing unit for people who are unhoused. And the things that people said about homeless people, and I emphasize people because the way so many people were talking about it, it's like they're not actually, they're other. And it's a way to avoid having to grapple, I think, with the fact that we live in a society with gross inequality. And so, people were saying, well, yeah, but okay, we can have one in Chatsworth. Currently, that council district was the only council district that didn't have supportive housing. And they said, oh, we understand that, but can't you put it like somewhere else, like in an industrial district where no one else lives? And of course, there are also no services, no public transportation. But in other words, I want it out of my sight so I don't have to think about it. I don't want to have to think about this problem. And I don't know about you, but I know I sometimes succumb to that. I'm not always the person who's out there like marching onto a freeway to shut it down. Sometimes I am that person who's just kind of like a disruption to my day as it goes about. And so it's important for me in those moments to catch myself and just notice what's going on, what's my thought processes. And so the next time you're feeling maybe some of that tension, maybe the next time you're feeling unsettled, ask yourself about the cause of that tension. What's at its root? And what you are called to do about it. To maybe move into discomfort. To being okay with living in that tension and working towards that positive peace. To embrace that discomfort, that tension as a sign that things must change. And to use that to guide you in making this world a better place. May it be so. Couple of, actually, several announcements this morning. We have a lot going on this week. As Tracy mentioned earlier, after the service, including our coffee hour, we have our Inquirers series, which is an opportunity for new folks to learn, and curious folks to learn more about, in this case today, we're going to be talking about Unitarian Universalist history, as well as principles and sources, as well as, I think this is exciting, proposed changes to those principles and sources towards the values and covenant. And so we're going to be talking about that. That's going to be in the minister's office and on Zoom. So just talk to me or to Louise, who's in red in the back. If you're interested in that, that'll start at 12. And also the environmental justice ministry meeting. If this service has inspired you maybe to see what you can do to get involved in one of the movements for justice in our time, that's going to be here in the sanctuary at 12. Also the not last session, the Date with Death Club. This is the 6th session of this. Which I've been doing. It's going to actually be extended. I'm going to do 3 more sessions in October, November, and December, but going to take a break in September. So it's been a really wonderful time. Tomorrow the topic is planning your own memorial service. And so I know some of our topics have been interesting, some have been heavy. This one I think should be really interesting. I don't know about you. I started thinking about like what songs I might like to have played at my memorial service, like when I was probably like 21 or 22, and even before I was considering ministry. And as someone who helps plan a lot of memorial services, I know sometimes it can be a challenge for loved ones to figure out what might, what would be appropriate for their service. So this should be a really great opportunity to develop your own ideas about what you might like to see for your memorial service. So that's going to be tomorrow at 3 at the West Valley Regional Branch Library on Van Owen in Reseda. And then also I know we have a couple people who showed up here for the first time on today because they came to an improv class on Tuesday, which Katie Kirkpatrick led, which was really fun, and it was a success. And so it's going to be an ongoing thing, 7:30 to 8:30. Come down. You don't have to have any experience in improv. I know some people who showed up had a blast, and so I'm really excited to continue doing that. And then finally, one last announcement. Our choir's been on break for the summer, but Eloise, our choir director, has an announcement about plans for this upcoming year and this week.
Good morning. So I'm Eloise Porter. I'm the choir director. And we want to make the Emerson service better. So Matthew's talking about making things better. So you can help us make things better. The choir has been struggling with a small number of people, and it's been difficult for a number of people to participate because they can't get away on a weeknight to come and practice. So we are going to try this year something different, and we will not be meeting during the week at all. I invite anyone who might think they can sing, might think they can enjoy singing in the choir, to come next Saturday. We're going to have a retreat day from 9:30 to about 4, and we're going to take breaks, and we're going to have a potluck lunch. And it's an opportunity, perhaps for some of you, to just try it out, see what you think, and then after that, make a commitment. The choir sings generally 2 Sundays a month, and I have the whole calendar laid out beforehand so people can plan ahead. And I'd love to hear from you if you have questions. And you can get in touch with me if you look at the newsletter. Contact is in there. Or see me after the service. If you're online, I encourage you to come join us on Saturday. And hopefully we'll be able to involve more people and do some great things for the services. So look forward to seeing some of you. Thank you.
And speaking of singing, let us now sing actually, I just want to offer, I've been, for those of you who are new here, I've been away for the past month, so I'm, I guess, slightly rusty, but it is good to be back. Actually, it was really great. My first day back was the improv class, and that was a wonderful way to start. But I want to offer thanks to Tracy Watson, our worship associate, to Kevin Matthey, our music director, to Conrad Nissenholtz up in the tech booth, to the people at the welcome desk and the ushers, and folks who helped out with the coffee hour, and those who will help clean up who don't necessarily know it yet. All of your contributions are gratefully appreciated. And now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing We Shall Overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall all be free someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday. And as our service comes to a close and we extinguish our chalice, I invite you, as you feel comfortable, to take hands, or to bump elbows, or place a hand on a shoulder, whatever feels comfortable for those of you to connect. To those of you on Zoom, we invite you to send your energy out to each other, and we send our energy to you. As I offer you these words from Barbara Tenhove. May each of us have enough strength in life that our fears will burn away. May each of us have enough hope in the future that we will let go of despair and work to leave a better world for our children. May each of us have enough love for each other that we will abandon hatred and never fail to notice the great miracle that is the human spirit. May each of us have enough courage to face the challenges of our troubled world so that we may act with trust, hope, and love in the face of fear, despair, and hatred. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.